So guys, as you know, the cost of living is out of control, and this video we're going to have a look at Coles and Woolworths CEOs talking about the price gouging that the supermarkets have been doing in Australia. And from this interview that we're going to watch through, from this expose from Four Corners, we're going to see what led to Brad Buccini, CEO of Woolworths, stepping down today. And we're going to hear Leah Wickett as well, CEO of Coles, talking about it and just how despicable and evil these corporations are and how much they've been strangling the Australian public. But let's kick into the expose by Four Corners.
Have a go at this. It's one of the smaller trolleys too. This just cost me almost $400. This is absolute joke.
Man, that's expensive.
Coles and Woolworths, Australia's big two, under fire.
So they should be.
No
They're
doubt
price gouging.
We are paying higher prices than we should.
They've just become bigger and bigger.
It's like they've got their hand on your throat and just letting you breathe.
Yeah, it's strangling us, man.
Insiders are speaking out.
If you're not willing to play their game, it's a lot of intimidation.
So how would you categorise a special?
Oh, a little bit like a drug.
Their million-dollar CEOs on the defensive.
Look at him.
Says that's the
Look at
definition of price gouging.
I think I'm done, guys.
You're walking out, really?
We're going to see him drop the ball in this one, and he resigns because of it.
Australian governments have allowed Coles and Woolworths to increase their market power. Now we expose the tactics they use to keep prices high and competitors out.
First it was the farmers who felt the pinch. What do we want? Then supermarket workers. And finally it's you, the consumer, being squeezed by this powerful duopoly.
We've always been squeezed by this powerful duopoly. They've been gouging us for years now, and it was just because of COVID coming through that we absolutely got reamed by it. These companies didn't lose money in COVID. You see their share prices, it skyrocketed across that when we were struggling as people in this country. Their share prices skyrocketed through the roof, man. They were price gouging, they were price fixing, they were pushing everything through the roof, taking profits from us as we struggled. Let's go. It's good there's exposés like this too, guys. Like, it is so uncommon where they actually get absolutely
From the
called out.
city to the suburbs, in country towns, they are part of our landscape. Coles and Woolworths. We're told they are the fresh food people, the home of everyday low prices.
Teenagers.
They are family dinners and back-to-school snacks.
Eating machines.
Our most trusted brands, who have always sold themselves as being firmly on the consumer's side.
Value.
They are never on the consumer side, man. They have been strangling us.
The Australian way.
Australian
But
way.
over the
Bullshit.
last year, this narrative has fractured, and consumers are angry.
So we are...
2 packets of chips for $11. I thought maybe it's wrong.
I just spent $46 on making a lasagna, like lasagna ingredients, and I
Would you spend $5.50 on chips, by the way? Would you? Leave it down below in the comments.
already had fucking half the ingredients.
Half price was $19. No, it wasn't. $16.
Oh, I'm going to start doing that, guys. I'm going to start doing that. Start having a look behind the yellow tickets. Is it actually accurate on what they're marking it off as? Look at that, $16.10. That's not half. No way.
$10. You absolute assholes.
I wonder how many tickets are like that. If you go to Coles next time, when you go to Coles next time and you see the yellow ticket items through, have a look behind them. Does it actually reflect correctly? I wonder how many times we've been tricked by that.
The Australian supermarket sector is
price gouge, people.
Stunningly concentrated. When you get this much concentration, you're going to get higher prices. It's just a straight causal relationship, proved everywhere. So I think that's quite clear.
Note that, guys.
As head of the ACCC, Rod Sims spent 11 years battling the big two.
Competition policy is a bit like trying to walk up the down escalator. If you're not really moving forward and pressing ahead, you're going to go backwards. And we stopped moving ahead 20 odd years ago.
It wasn't always this way.
Here we go. History lesson.
Coles and Woolworths started out as variety stores.
This will be good.
In the late 1950s, when they moved into groceries and fresh produce, there were 21 other retailers vying for customer dollars. But within just a few years, with their new self-serve supermarket model, they had cornered around 20% of the market. And this concentration already had suppliers, especially farmers, worried.
So they should be, because if you've got less people to sell to, your prices become less competitive, and they start creating a monopoly saying, well, you know, if we're buying, in this case, 20% of produce off the Australian market, you know, that's going to be 1/5 of your sales as a farmer. And if you lose that chain, if you lose that business, you're going to start trying to find that 20% across other businesses. So yeah, you've got to bend the knee and cave a little bit if they grow more than 20%. And in this case, I think we're going to see that Woolworths and Coles have got a lot more than 20% of the market. Even 20% each, I reckon they've got a lot more than 40%. Let's see.
Some of them, of course, are very frightened that this is being done at the cost of their independence, that you, in fact, will tell them what to grow and when and how.
No, that is certainly not the case. The grower is completely independent. He is able to deal with us if he chooses and if it suits him.
But on the other hand, if you're the only people to deal with, he hasn't got much choice, has he?
No, that would be true, but it is most unlikely that we will ever be the only people to deal with.
How's that for an Australian accent back in the 20s? That's wild. Bloody wild, mate. Can't believe they talk like that.
By the late 1970s, Coles and Woolworths' market share had doubled to nearly 40%, with a rise in shopping malls built
40%.
around a central supermarket.
Look at this
Most
footage.
of this market share was acquired even before Australia had competition laws. They went on to buy out competitors like Bilo, Safeway, Action, and dozens of Franklin stores.
Who remembers Bilo? Who remembers Bilo? That was great. Was it, what was his name? The big fella, Huey or something like that. Was it Huey or was it Big Kev? Big Kev, like, I'm excited. I'm excited, mate. Was that Bilo? I don't know. Leave it down below in the comments if you remember. I remember going to like a Bilo store when I was a kid. There used to be one in an area on the coast, and my parents went to it a couple of times. But yeah, I always wondered where that went, and then just over time it shut down. But it was good to kind of see that there was competitors back then. But man, over like the last 20 years, I don't think there's as much anymore.
As the new millennium approached, they'd cemented their position as the purveyors of convenience. A duopoly was born.
Bloody oath, 2 of them.
We have allowed these corporations to turn a blind eye over a very long period of time, almost like boiling the frog over a very long time, that they've just become bigger and bigger.
Coles and Woolworths now control 65% of the grocery market.
65?
Aldi has just 10%, with independents like IGA making up the rest. That means on average, for every $10 Australians pay for groceries, $6.50 of that is spent at Coles and Woolworths, and just $1 at Aldi.
Where do you guys shop? Leave it down below in the comments. Where do you guys shop? Do you shop at Coles? Do you shop at Woolies? Do you shop at Aldi, IGA, independent grocers, farmers markets? What do you do for shopping? I know most of mine currently is at Coles, and then I also do a little bit at IGA to pick up loose odds and ends. You know, like when I run out of milk, I'll scoot down to the IGA, that kind of stuff. Aldi I don't shop at too much, but I have heard they're cheaper. So I don't know, I'm going to look into that a little bit more after this video. Is Aldi much cheaper? But guys, where do you shop? Where's the cheapest? Leave it down below in the comments.
By contrast, in the UK, there are 5 major players vying for a cut of that $10. And in the US, there are multiple supermarket chains in the mix. Together, Coles and Woolworths have almost 2,000 stores across Australia, generating $84 billion in revenue.
$84 billion.
This market power has led to accusations of profiteering, exploiting suppliers and taking advantage of consumers at a time when the cost of living is spiralling.
As prices rise, the big two supermarkets have revealed record profits.
Coles and Woolworths both reported profits of more than $1 billion this year and increased their gross profit margins.
Over $1 billion each, guys. I remember reading news reports on this. News reports on it. Over $1 billion in profit across a year when everyone's struggling and we're spending less at the grocery stores as well. Everyone's cutting back, trying to spend less, and they're making billions of dollars in profit. Over $2 billion between the two of them. That is absolutely wild. We're spending less, therefore the product costs have gone right up and they're still profiting. They're not taking a loss. They're not losing any money here. Let's charge it onto us.
After years of inaction, politicians from all sides are now talking about taking on the duopoly.
They're talking, they're not doing anything.
When you have this much market power, you need a big stick over the top of them, and it's time now.
How you going, mate?
Welcome back.
There are 6 inquiries
Yeah,
and reviews
come on, Elbow.
targeting the duopoly.
What are you going to do?
Today I announced that the Treasurer will be directing the ACCC to conduct a 12-month price inquiry into the supermarket industry.
It is time that...
Green Senator Nick...
The ACCC to do a 12-month inquiry into the supermarket industry. Isn't that their job? Like every year? Not just like because the Prime Minister turns around and says, hey, we should probably do like an inquiry. Why is everyone complaining about it? Isn't it the ACCC's job every year, year after year, to stay on top of this kind of stuff? Not just because there's like an inquiry that's kicked off from the government. No, this shouldn't have gone this far.
McKim is leading a Senate inquiry into supermarket pricing.
And it's time that we hauled the CEOs in and ensured that those CEOs are called to account for their pricing practices.
Just watch your head there, Liam.
Good, let's string them up.
The CEOs are quick to argue. They're not profiteering at the expense of customers.
Look at him laughing or
Do you
stretching.
think your profits are excessive?
No, I think they are fair in the context of the investment that goes into the business every year and the performance of our team.
Just for context, guys, this guy wrote himself an $11 million bonus in 2023. $11 million. That's absolutely nuts. That's crazy.
When you look at our return on investment, it's sort of in the middle of the ASX. So, is the question, did we drive profit by jacking up prices? The answer is no.
It's really important that businesses like Coles are profitable enterprises. We employ over 120,000 team members. We support over 8,000 suppliers.
I wonder how many team members they had before they started to transition across to self-serve or, assisted checkouts. I wonder how many they had before that. I wonder, I would be curious, say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 120,000 staff currently, how many staff members do they have back then before they started to try automate everything and change everything across with systems?
And we also need to invest in the business to keep it growing over time.
The evidence over time is that Coles and Woolworths had some of the highest margins in the world for supermarkets. Historically, they've been very profitable supermarkets in comparison to overseas.
Listen to this guy. He's going to expose both of them.
Woolworths' latest annual report shows its cost of doing business was flat, but its profit margin from selling groceries rose from 5.3% to 6%.
Gouged.
That may sound like a small increase, but it was worth an extra $318 million in profits last year alone.
It's money Australians don't get. Extra money we've spent that we didn't have to.
There are many things that go and drive the delivery of that result. It's a lot of hard work in productivity and investment.
It's hard to see how you haven't used the cover of inflation to drive price increases above that. And that's what most people would see as price gouging.
That is a hard,
we certainly haven't done it. I personally have...
Let's see how he answers it.
I've reviewed the supplier cost increases, which you would have to agree in many cases would have been legitimate. If you look at the price of fertiliser, what happened with international freight, their own wage issues, their own disruption issues, and our prices on the shelf? That's the question you're really asking.
He absolutely dodged it around. Did he just blame the Ukraine for our food prices going up, saying, oh, fertilizer costs going up, so on and so forth? No, Brad, you control your bottom line. You control the prices and the profit margins that your store, your chain, is selling. You can't just blame external international factors because you raise the prices.
To be precise, between the price on the shelf and the cost increase from the supplier, those have been in lockstep.
Coles saw a small increase
Literally
in
said
its
he just
cost
moved
of doing
everything up.
business last year, pushing its profit margin down slightly to 4.8%. But that margin is still higher than its peers in the UK.
So there are quite often comparisons that are made between the UK and Australia. But Australia has about a third of the population of the UK, but we operate stores on a geographic footprint which is 30 times the size. And so those considerations need to be taken into account when those margins are compared.
So they should be making as much money. We have less people, so there's less revenue. There's more distance between everything, so they should be losing more on transportation between, not just increasing it so they don't lose money. Man, the gall of them CEOs, I swear, man, like, bro.
There's always been a lot of debate around the numbers, and it's difficult to compare across countries. But it's harder to argue about the market power of the big two. I'm in the New South Wales town of Orange to meet cherry farmer Michael Cuniel.
Hey, Michael.
Angus, hi.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Wonder how much they're ripping him off.
Good morning.
I've come on a busy day. He's preparing to pick and pack this year's cherry crop.
We had a little lull with weather as well, and now we're ramping back into it. Could I get you to roll the stickers? And I'll just print one more batch off if you don't mind.
This orchard has been in the Cuniel family for 3 generations.
My grandfather came over from Italy after the Second World War, and they got enough money to put a deposit down on it.
Just a second, guys, like, have a look at how large that farm is. Okay, we're not talking like just a small backyard farm here. We're talking a large operation here. So this is probably like a major supplier of cherries in Australia.
Place, you know, they would work hard for, from sun up to sundown or even more. There was profit there.
Look at
Michael
how many
Cuniel
jobs.
is one of the few growers.
Look at how many jobs he's created. Look at all the people working there.
Was willing to speak with us. He's getting out of the industry. This year's crop will be the family's last.
That's a shame, man.
Why is the profit not there?
We're reliant now on 2 major supermarkets, really, to buy all of our fruit. We're at the mercy of them. We're price takers, so the profit just isn't there anymore. It gets to you a little bit because these are beautiful young trees and they're just coming to perfect production. You know, this is 5-6 years after planting, so yeah, it's going to be a huge shame to see such fantastic trees and, you know, all that effort just getting pushed into a pile.
That's a huge problem as well. So last thing we want is food shortages in Australia. And when farmers can't make money or can't make profit or have it worth it for them because these supermarket chains are not paying them enough or trying to scrimp down or short out the amount that they're paying to these farmers, and then they shut down, where do we get our food from? Where are we supposed to get our food from? We're going to have to pull it in from overseas. That's going to cost more money. And then we lose our GDP in the country. Our dollar becomes less and less worth anything because we're not producing anything in the country. And we've already shut down so much production in this country. So much. And now our food source is at threat because these supermarkets are being greedy and want to keep their prices up. Nah, that's BS, dude.
It's like they've got their hand on your throat. and just letting you breathe.
Kuhnel stopped selling into Coles 2 years ago. He's opened his books for us.
Well, there's a huge power imbalance. You know, you've got hundreds and hundreds of growers trying to sell to two main supermarkets. So they're dictating the price, they're controlling what's being bought for how much.
They're going to make growers compete against each other. It's a race to the bottom on the pricing for whoever's willing to sell for the least or to sell at a loss to move their product through. That is rubbish.
So it's a tricky situation.
His books show that in the 2022 growing season, he sent 11 shipments to Coles via a third party. He made a small profit on 4 deliveries early in the season. For his next 7 deliveries, Michael Kuhnel went from just breaking even to losing substantial money. And on one of those occasions, his cherries were rejected outright.
What?
Would they ever tell you why it was rejected?
There's multiple things to reject fruit, and you know, they can pick something out of the air and say, no, we don't like it because of this.
And did you have any power to say, I disagree with that?
Absolutely no power at all, no.
Well, because if he doesn't sell it, if he doesn't get the tender for bid, he can't sell it to them, and he's just going to be beaten by one of his competitors selling it slightly cheaper. So, and then if you lose him, if you throw your hands up in the air and say, you know, this is fucking bullshit, dude. If you throw your hands up in the air doing that and you say, no, this is crap, fix it, and they just turn around, either Woolworths or Coles, or both of them turn around and say, well, you know what, we don't want to work with you anymore. He's just lost his way to sell to like the mainstream public. He's lost so much there. So he's probably worried about offending them because he doesn't want to lose his bridge for business. He doesn't want to lose his farm, his operations. But it sounds like it's all turning to shit for him. This sucks.
No, we'd just have to cop it unless you want it to be sort of black-banded.
Black-banded.
One example stands out. Towards the end of that season, Kuhnel sent 15 tonnes of cherries to be sold at Coles, an entire semi-trailer load. He hoped to receive around $90,000 for his biggest shipment of the year, which had been carefully graded to meet Coles' specifications. Instead, he was told the fruit was not up to standard, and he was only able to get $5,800 on the seconds market.
He said it was carefully graded for it, though, to meet their specifications, and they just turned around and said, some reason. That's crap. And then he had, $5,800 on the seconds market. He got a little bit back, but that is nowhere close to him breaking even. He's selling that at a loss at that point.
When you're dealing with thousands and thousands of pieces of fruit, you can pick 10 pieces out and say, this is no good.
Man, this boils my blood.
Power,
this poor guy.
Market power when you can simply reject something for no great reason.
Would you acknowledge that there is a
Look at this
lack
witch.
of transparency in how fresh produce is purchased?
We enter into seasonal commitments with our supplier, and I don't know if this is a supplier to Coles, but with our suppliers, our fresh produce suppliers, we will enter into a seasonal contract.
Isn't there a huge power imbalance there? That once the fruit is sent off, they have very little choice other than to take the price that they're given.
So, as I said earlier, we work closely with our suppliers because we know our suppliers have to be successful for us to be successful.
That means, no pun intended, she's cherry picking suppliers. Which is fair enough. They want the right suppliers to work with, but they're picking suppliers where they can just get them through. See how she answered that one? She was very specific and very picky with her words. She only wants to work with people she can rip off.
Fruit and vegetables are crucial for the big two. They're the first thing you see when you enter a store.
The retailers need to be able to offer apples and pears and all the horticultural products at a very, very good price to get customers through the door. And that means that they will put an extraordinary level of pressure on the growers to buy super, super low prices.
Can I give you a run through how the weekly buying process?
Jeremy Griffiths sits on the Horticulture Council at the National Farmers Federation. He says Coles and Woolworths' market power is having a profound impact on the industry.
We have estimated in the last 12 months alone that we've taken the bulldozers to 15% of the Australian pear orchards. That's a remarkable number. 34% of vegetable growers interviewed said that they wanted to get out of the sector in the next 12 months. The average age of growers, and you would have seen this in your travels, it's way too old because no young person sees a future in this industry. It's a massive, massive issue.
And why would young people want to work out there? We're getting backpackers through, even though there's a bit of a lull across COVID, but backpackers come through. They get paid peanuts to do this job. They get absolutely slave laboured, absolutely, like not saying like the whip's out, but the whip's out on pressure for them, saying, well, if you can't do this backbreaking labour for peanuts, then, well, you don't have work tomorrow. So that kind of stuff's happening. But man, why would a young person, say you grew up in the city, say you grew up even semi-rurally, why would you want to go work out in farms when you know that there's one, the pay's crap, and two, there's no future in it? It's this guy's saying, like, the people who are in the business right now, they're older people, probably have their own farmland, grew all their own stuff. Maybe it's handed down through the generations, but now it's hitting the point where the new generation getting handed over the land, they're like, this is just not worth it. I don't want to do this. I will just go work in the city to earn $80,000 a year instead of risking losing the farm because of these supermarkets paying absolute rubbish. So it's sad to see, man, like generations of people just packing up the farm, moving off, saying this is the end of it. And especially the guys who, currently have the farm saying this is not worth it, I'm going to shut down. That's our food supply, guys. That's our food supply being strangled out from these supermarket giants.
While fresh food is the bait to get people through the door, your typical Coles or Woolworths store has more than 20,000 items.
20,000, guys, wow.
And if you really want to understand how the big retailers
operate, a lot of Cocoa Pops,
you need to speak with someone like Julian Hilliard. He spent 38 years in retail, including working as a buyer and what's known as a category manager for both Coles and Woolworths.
Oh, we have to tune into this guy. Category manager, guys. This is the person working around these contracts. And if he's got that experience, he's going to expose the heck out of them.
He's bought everything from cereal to nappies to laundry detergent.
It's your job to pick that right assortment, that right mix of products that's going to maintain the customer satisfaction, suit all their needs, and obviously assist you in achieving your targets.
Is there pressure to hit those targets?
There's always pressure to hit targets. There's sales targets, there's margin targets, there's market share targets, then there's profit dollar targets. So definitely lots of ways that your performance would be assessed.
This might give you the impression that Coles and Woolworths are in a fierce price war. But that's not how the duopoly works.
There's a term called Colesworth.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you?
Colesworth?
I think it's a generic term people use to describe the fact that there's not a lot of difference between Coles and Woolworths.
How closely do Coles and Woolworths track each other on price?
They're more or less identical in many respects. Both organisations would have teams of people that would be checking prices to ensure that you were not exceeding what was, I guess, deemed to be the acceptable price in the marketplace.
Price
So
fixing.
you're saying when you work for Woolworths and Coles put a price up, you'd follow pretty quickly afterwards?
That would normally be the case.
Price gouging,
I
price fixing,
would probably
price
say
gouging.
That, if you did 5 shops in Woolworths and 5 shops in Coles and you spent $100, you'd be a few cents difference maybe, depending on the specials.
The fact there's little difference on price is something that even Coles CEO Leah Weckett concedes.
You do price match with Woolworths,
Listen
do you?
to her wording.
We certainly have as one of our considerations when we set price is what is the price of the other retailers, not just Woolworths, but all other retailers in the market that compete in the category that we're looking at.
Price
Are
fixing.
you familiar with the term Colesworth?
I'm not.
Bullshit. She would have heard that before. Lying
Without the
through her
distraction of
teeth.
a price war, the big
She's
two
lying
can instead
through
focus
her
on
teeth.
pumping up their profit margins to satisfy the share market. And it's suppliers who bear the brunt of this. They say Coles and Woolworths play the game ruthlessly.
It's absolutely ridiculous. The margins that they make, the tactics that they deploy.
One industry insider has had enough and is now speaking out.
Let's go.
You're essentially at their mercy in terms of how they want to deal with you, what kind of money they want, and they can make brands overnight and they can destroy brands overnight. That's the reality because of their market power and concentration.
He's asked not to be identified because he works for a company currently supplying into Coles and Woolworths.
If you're not willing to play their game, it's a lot of intimidation, jacking up prices, or deleting it from the shelf and forcing customers to essentially go buy your competitor's product.
He says Coles and Woolworths are always looking to increase their profit margins. He cites a recent email exchange with a Coles buyer where he asked for a price increase.
Initially, he rejected or said, I can't accept this cost increase based on the current climate and the impact on consumers.
But it's his product. He can set the price how he wants. But then Coles turns around and says, no, we won't do that. And then they ask for even lower again. No, man, that's ridiculous.
The Coles buyer argued the increase of around 5% wasn't justified.
Less than inflation.
That's where the negotiations started, and we ended up giving a lump sum of money to get the price increase through, which was accepted in full.
So you're saying that...
That sounds like a bribe. That sounds like a bribe. It's like, well, you know, we'll give you money. You allow us to raise the price of our goods in your store. Dude, that's a bribe. That sounds like a bribe, dude.
They will validate your price increase if you give them either more margin or a lump sum of money.
Correct.
That lump sum was $25,000 towards promotions. The Coles buyer's initial concern for the consumer had been quickly forgotten.
So it's $25,000, guys, in promotions, which means that they're just losing $25,000 for the store to sell stuff through, essentially, to make the price cheaper, or for Coles to advertise it. I would not be surprised if they're like, well, $25,000 goes towards, Coles radio, or putting in little, prices in their catalogs. Imagine that. You've got to spend $25,000 to put your product in their catalogs for them to try and get customers into the store to buy your products when your products already would be sitting there. Man, what a rort.
There are other costs for suppliers wanting to do business with the big two, including in-house advertising.
Oh, here we go.
A full-page ad in Woolworths Fresh magazine will cost $30,000. A 4-week spot on Coles Radio, $28,000.
$28,000 on Coles Radio. Who the hell listens to Coles Radio? Do you ever go through a grocery store and you're listening to some Dua Lipa song from 10 years ago, and then they say buy Cocoa Pops in the background? And then you think, oh man, I better buy Cocoa Pops. Do you think that works? Do you think it's worth $28,000 for your product to be said over the in-store radio? I do not think that would make any difference at all. That's a scam. That's got to be a scam. That should be Coles for free, naming out, products or naming out specials or, whatever they got going on, not charging the product or brand for them to be mentioned out over the radio. Man, that is a rort.
And these all contribute to higher prices for customers at the checkout.
They've got to charge more. They've got to the producers need to charge more.
They're the ones that are getting screwed. It just
these
means
extra costs.
Higher prices at the shelf because the supermarkets are extremely greedy.
There we go.
Why do you want to speak out?
I honestly think it's the right thing to do. I think the current situation's gotten extremely out of hand. You go to the supermarket, you buy a few items, you're already talking $75 to $100. A lot of Aussies are struggling out there.
What's your bill come in at? If you're watching this far, what does your supermarket bill come through for your food and groceries each week? Comment down below. How much is it? And if you can remember a few years ago, how much did it used to be a few years ago? Mine used to be way cheap. I remember back when I was like 18, 19, back when I was in university, over 15 years ago, I could get by on $30 to $40 a week on groceries. And I shop pretty frugally. I still shop pretty frugally. But back then, $30 to $40 for a week, they'll get me by on food. I could not get by on that anymore. It'd have to be triple probably these days. Sure, like I do get some better foods and stuff like that than I used to back when I was in university, eating noodles and microwaving meat pies and sausage rolls. But I still have meat pies, still have some sausage rolls. 4 and 20 meat pies now though. They're like what, $8-9 for a little 4-pack. That's a huge increase. But yeah, what do you guys used to spend? What do you guys spend now? Have you noticed that cost increase? Of course, you've noticed the cost increase. We're being ripped off.
So you have an email.
There we go.
From
The
one
Wicked
supplier.
Witch.
We have over 8,000 suppliers that we work with. We have a team of people whose job it is to look to validate cost price increases.
See that? She said, well, you have an email from one supplier. But we got 8,000. That's 7,999. She's not saying that they haven't complained as well. She's just saying you've only got one of those 8,000. There could be 100, 200, several hundred of them suppliers complaining. But she's saying, but you've only got one. She's not saying that more aren't complaining. Her wording is so tricky, guys. You've got to really pay close attention to what she's saying here.
And we take that job very seriously.
He says that's the definition of price gouging.
It is. Look at her face. Look at her face, bro. She's like, it is price gouging. How do I respond to this? Hang on. Just think. She's thinking on the spot. She knows it's price gouging, but she knows that she can't say that it's price gouging because it's going to get her in a hell of a lot of trouble if she does. So she's trying to think how to word her way around it. Let's see how she uses words to get around this question.
Is that the case?
We don't engage in practices like that. We're
So
working...
you're saying absolutely that this is not a practice that you engage in to use a price increase to increase your margin or your bottom line in another way?
I would need to see the specifics of...
Not denying it. She's not denying it. I would need to see the specifics. Let's see how she gets out.
any particular scenario to judge whether it's reasonable or not.
So there are scenarios where it's reasonable or unreasonable where price gouging exists. Man, he got her in crosshairs on that one.
What we have certainly seen is that there has been inflation in cost bases. Coles has not been immune to that. The increases have been substantial over the last couple of years. And
just a quick note there, Coles has not been immune to that. Yeah, you haven't been immune to it. You just raised your prices up to inflation. You're not immune to it. It doesn't mean that you didn't raise your prices. Tricky wording.
So some of that does flow through to the consumer.
Yeah, she admits it. They raise their prices.
Woolworths denies using similar tactics against its suppliers.
When a supplier asks for a price increase, we would like to engage to make sure it's based on true cost increases, and we do that in the context of complying with the code. And so, we're very keen to make sure we don't pass on anything more to our customers than is required.
Don't pass on any more to our customers than is required. Well, what's the amount that's required? Well, the amount that's required is for you to make fat profit as a company. And then anything past there, anything past the fat profit mark, that's fine. We don't need to do that. But it is required that we make fat profit. Man, this guy's a piece of work.
As a buyer, Julian Hilliard says it was his job to put pressure on suppliers.
Certainly there would be uncomfortable conversations. There's no question of that. Now, some people might classify that as robust business discussion. I guess if I felt that someone had already given me everything they could possibly give me, and I had to ask for more, then personally I felt that was probably a little bit of a stretch.
So he's former guy, so he doesn't do it anymore, but he said that he used to, and then the practice, and you learn these practices when you work for these kind of companies. They put you in the roles and say, yeah, do this is how we do it, this is how we do things here. And he was saying, yeah, when they don't have anything more to give, it'd be an uncomfortable conversation, trying to even get more, or be like, you know what, we're not going to take you on, which kind of forces their hands to meet them down. So, yeah, man, that's rough. He had to do that, man. I would not do that job. I would not be comfortable doing that job at all.
The establishment in 2015 of a food and grocery code of conduct was supposed to take some of this friction out of the supermarket-supplier relationship. Under the code, each supermarket appoints and pays for an arbiter to handle its complaints.
The grocery code of conduct is quite frankly a disgrace. You have a code with no penalties. Now let me just emphasise that. That is like having a speed limit throughout one of our cities of 60 kilometres an hour. That's the speed limit. Then someone said, what happens if I go 80? Nothing. There's no penalty. So the law's a joke. The code of conduct is a joke.
And that's from the guy running the ACCC for 11 years, saying the code of conduct's an absolute joke. Why do they have a code of conduct if it's not enforceable? I think they're going to get in trouble here.
Why do you think it is that Woolworths has never had a single complaint under the grocery code of conduct?
You would have to go and ask suppliers why that's.
Well, let me
the
tell
case.
you. Your
Sure.
own arbiter, Helen McKenzie, has said that suppliers are frightened to complain and that they fear retribution.
Look, I think it's just the nature of any relationship that there's going to be that anxiety.
It's a lot stronger word than anxiety.
If they complain, they lose their contracts the next season for fruit picking, or the next shipment, or the next 12-month supply, or shelf space, whatever it may be. If they complain through a formal code of conduct or code of practice thing against the supermarkets, they're going to say, oh, this specific supplier has complained. I don't want to work with them anymore because they complained. And they lose their contract. So many are just not lodging complaints because they don't want to lose their contract. They don't want to lose their livelihood. They don't want to shut the farm down. And if they do complain and go through the code of conduct, the ACCC dude, he's saying, well, there's no penalties anyway. So why would they complain when the only thing that happens is they are threatened to lose their contracts, to lose their business with these supermarket giants, and there's no punishment, no retribution against the supermarkets for breaching or breaking a code of practice or a code of conduct. It's a lose-lose situation for suppliers to put a complaint in.
So we engage with our suppliers every week. We have robust conversations every week. We resolve issues every week. It's only if you can't do that you go to a code arbiter or anything else.
Coles had no complaints under the code last financial year and just 5 in the previous 2 years.
Same deal, guys. Doesn't matter if it's Woolworths, doesn't matter if it's Coles. They're not going to put complaints in because they don't want to lose their contracts.
On 3 of those occasions, it agreed to compensate the suppliers.
So they say they fear retribution, and so they would not make a formal complaint.
Well, that is not in line with the culture that we have at Coles.
Their culture's literally paying them the smallest amount that they can. That's their culture. That's what they've been doing. This admitted to doing. Trying to get the best deal out of the suppliers.
And that is why I think most issues are actually resolved in the first instance by our suppliers and our farmers having a conversation with our category teams.
Well, the category teams pretty much say, well, if you have a problem with it, you don't have to sell to us next time. That's not a solution. That's a robust conversation. You keep hearing these terms over and over, a robust conversation. If you have a problem, that's fine. You don't have to sell to us. We can find someone else. Man.
So you think it's working well?
I'm not saying that anyone is not complaining. I'm saying that a lot of these issues are getting raised with our category teams and being worked through.
Worked through. Yeah, give us $25,000, please, and then we may do that for you. Or buy $28,000 worth of Coles radio ads, or $30,000 for a page in our catalogue, and then we'll consider meeting your demands. Man, she's not saying it's being resolved, she's just saying it's being worked through. Being worked through is not a resolution. Being worked through is not, things escalating up. They're shutting it down at the category team level. They're shutting it down. They're shutting down these robust conversations with the suppliers. What a piece of work. She's the reason, guys, that you are paying
The
more.
Grocery Code of Conduct is now under review, with a push to make it mandatory and to impose fines on those who breach it. The federal government is also reviewing Australia's competition laws. Brad Banducci is adamant competition is fierce, even going as far as talking up rivals like Aldi.
They've got 590 stores. Aldi, they're an amazing business. They drive incredible value.
They have 10% of the market, though.
That's not the percentage they have. They're in every community, and it makes customers have a choice between a Woolworths or Coles and an Aldi at minimum. And by the way, just up the road is a Costco warehouse.
Sorry.
He's the CEO of Woolworths. Why is he speaking up his competitors right now? Uh-oh. Someone's slipping up here. Brad Banducci, you slipping up, bro. You're not allowed to be doing that. Your board's going to be having a chat with you later on.
You're saying that actually there is really robust competition. I mean, Rod Sims, the former head of the ACCC, says that we have one of the most concentrated supermarkets in the world. Is he lying?
It's not true, and it is not true.
The CEO of a supermarket saying the ACCC is lying. That's what he's saying. The CEO of Woolworths saying the ACCC, Consumer Protection, is lying about what his company does.
This community over here, there will be 3 Coles stores within 2 kilometres of it, at least 1 Aldi store, a series of independents, ability to, within 24 hours, have a quarter of our store delivered to you by Amazon. It is an incredibly competitive market. The risk people have is...
the former head of the Competition Commission says
his
words are...
Get him.
By the way.
Wait, what do you say? Just jump back there.
Competitive market. The risk people have
Listen to
is...
this.
The former head of the Competition Commission says his words are that we have...
By the way.
I don't think you would impugn his integrity and his understanding of competition law.
I'm just saying the world has got much more competitive.
He retired 18 months ago. He's not...
Okay, can we take that out? Is that okay? He...
No way. Oh, dude. He's shot himself down there, dude. He has shot himself down. One, he has negated the ACCC, being like, oh yeah, he's retired though. He doesn't know anything. Meanwhile, this guy has been CEO of Woolworths for 11 years. Even 18 months ago, it would have been the guy from ACCC across most of his career as CEO. And he's just negating the ACCC's output. Just being like, yeah, he's retired though. No, he doesn't know. It's been 18 months since then. 18 months since then. Oh, it's all changed since then. And then he asked, can we take that out? Oh man, brace yourself, because we're about to watch the train wreck. This is Brad Banducci getting himself absolutely cooked, and this is what led to him resigning.
He is retired, but I shouldn't have said that, Angus. Are we going to leave it in there if we are?
Well, I mean, we're on the record. We said it. I mean, let's move on. But
brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I'm done, guys.
Oh.
I do this with good intent. I don't do this with bad intent.
You're walking out, really?
No. Can we just talk through?
Bro, where's his PR team? He's blown it. He has absolutely blown it. He's walked off in an interview after smearing the ACCC. No way. That is brutal.
Let's keep going.
Let's just keep going. Yeah. Dig your hole deeper, mate. Let's just keep going. Keep it rolling.
Australia, we've never been more excited because whenever
The supermarkets are feeling the pressure.
it means you're getting great value, hands down.
One tactic they've been using to get the public back on side is the lure of specials, as seen in their slick ads.
At Woolworths, we can help you spend less. With
In recent months, the big two have both announced store-wide price cuts.
$4 a pack. That's today's fresh food, people.
Yeah, price cut, but, you know, how much was it before the price cut? It's still super inflated. It's still a high price. They've put all their margins, all their increases, so they don't lose money before the price cut even comes into play. So Coles, Woolworths are not losing money on these specials. The price cut's still marked up above, it's still marked up, so they make money, so they make profit even after the specials applied. So imagine how much they're making without the specials. So much. Just marketing, bro. Just dodgy marketing. That's all it is. It's like, have you ever been to like a clothing store or something like that? You click like a Facebook ad and you go across to like some web store and it's like a 90% off sale for the next 2 days. And you're like, oh man, that's a really good deal. But they're getting this stuff from China for around that price anyway, if not cheaper. So even on the 90% off, they're still doubling, tripling their money on their return on investment or their ad spend for what they're putting in on the ads. So it looks like it's like, oh, this used to be $20, but they're only selling it for $2 right now. Wow, what a great deal. When the product's worth 20 cents shipped out of China. So they're still making $1.80 out of it. They're just making you think it's marked down when it never has been marked down. That's deceptive marketing. And I think these guys are doing that kind of stuff.
I'm on my way to see Rosie Thomas, the campaign's director at Choice. I've brought some groceries with me.
What's in the bag?
What can you tell us about these ones?
I recognise these products. So these barbecue briquettes, this is the product where we caught Coles out raising locked prices.
It was not just one item where Coles had misled consumers.
Band-Aids?
Yes, again, there was a locked price promise, but then they put up prices before they should have.
So guys, all them locked prices that you see around Coles, have you paid attention to the dates on them? Do you reckon that some of them products, some of them prices says locked until 27th of January, prices locked till then? Do you reckon some of them stickers have disappeared earlier? Because that's what she's exposing right here. She's exposing them, removing them price lockings early.
After Choice complained to the ACCC about the briquettes, Coles conceded there were 20 items where prices had not been locked for as long as the retailer had promised.
Ooh, busted.
I'm surprised by this one. Cornflakes?
Yeah, cornflakes are a staple in so many households and people were paying more than they should have.
Yeah, bro, I've got cornflakes.
So Coles was caught red-handed.
They've started refunding the amounts to any consumers who have Flybuys accounts or shopped online. But there will still be a large number of consumers who bought these products in store. And unless they show up with receipts, they're not going to get refunds. And so we really want to know what Coles is doing with that extra money that it's held onto unfairly.
Like, I don't have Flybuys. Leave down below in the comments, do you have Flybuys? Because that's the only way they can match up these products. It's like, oh, this person scanned Flybuys on this product, therefore they purchase it outside of the locking period, or like when we change the prices on the locking. That's the only way they can match it up. So I don't know if I bought any of these products. I don't even know. I have received no communications from Coles on like, hey, here's 20 things that we screwed up on. Please come into the store to get it corrected. But even still, man, like I'm not going to have receipts for that. This could be stuff I bought months ago and I wouldn't have even known about it. I'm not going to have the receipts for it, so I won't be able to prove anything. Oh man, what have they done? What have they done with that extra money? Because I tell you what, they haven't reloaded the prices.
So despite having misled the consumers on 20 occasions, there has been no tangible punishment for Coles.
Not yet, other than refunding the money, which they really shouldn't have kept to begin with.
Do you know how much you've refunded?
We have refunded substantially more than what the benefit was to Coles.
we have refunded substantially more than what the benefit was to Coles. So we have given back more money than we were ripping people off. That doesn't make sense. How does that work? Because only some people got the refunds back. Only the people with flybys or who had receipts coming back into the store got their money back. So how does that work?
From the increase in price. And I think what's important to me is that we have worked hard to understand what went wrong with the processes so that they don't happen going forward.
Can you give us the figures of how much customers spent and what you refunded?
I don't think that's appropriate that we get into that level of detail.
Because it's millions. It would have been millions of dollars. And she knows the numbers, but she just doesn't think it's appropriate for the Australian people to know how much Coles ripped them off by the removing the locked prices and profiteering off of it. She doesn't want Australians to know how many millions of dollars we were scammed.
Here's the thing you need to know about specials. They're not really that special. Grocery suppliers and brands are often expected to fund these promotions, not the supermarkets.
Really?
That means suppliers need to set their recommended retail price at a higher level, knowing they will have to offer deep discounts for much of the year.
That's forced inflation, guys. That is forced inflation.
I'm guessing that the normal price of this is probably over $30. In fact, yes, it is, $31. It's on special for $14.50. Who would ever pay over $30 for that item?
So why do they even have the recommended retail price?
I guess they have to set a price and then they'll promote off it. You might ask yourself, or I would ask myself, would it be better to have that sweet spot price around about $22 and just sell it for $22 every day?
Who here only buys laundry liquid when it's on special? Who here does that? Leave it down below in the comments. I only buy laundry liquid when it's on special, but it looks like it's on special all the time. And they've marked up the price so they can do that 50% off or 30% off or, whatever percentage off. So they get the little yellow ticket there. So you're like, oh, it's on special. I better get it when it's on special. Anyone else do that? I only buy laundry liquid, detergent, washing stuff when it's on special. And they've marked up. He's saying this. He was the category, working on the category teams. He's the guy who worked around this stuff. That set the manufacturer's retail price, the MRP, sky high, so they could mark it on special to get more attention to it. So people go, it's on special, I'll get it now. Man, that is dodgy marketing. Dodgy marketing.
The trouble with that is it would then just blend into everything else because it wouldn't have the nice, big, flashy ticket on it. You are attracted to those tickets.
Better get it now. It's not $30.
People into the supermarkets. It helps everyone feel that they're getting a better deal.
Bro, this is
So
rough.
how would you categorise a special?
Oh, a little bit like a drug.
Hooked on specials, bro.
Behind the
Can't get
success
enough
of
of 'em.
Coles and Woolworths is a workforce of more than 300,000 people. They are two of Australia's largest private sector employers. But the announcement of record profits has caused friction on the shop floor.
Ooh. Yeah, like they're announcing like these $1 billion profits across the year. Are the staff getting raises above inflation? Are they getting CPI matches at least, if not more, to try and get ahead for their tenure there, for how long they've been working there? Let's see.
So I've decided to get a few groceries on the way home through Coles Click and Collect.
Yep, here we are. Okay, going in here now.
But are you a DoorDash driver? I am. Oh man.
That was super easy.
Going through all the
Drive
fields.
in, 2 minutes later, groceries in the back of the car.
2 minutes? Bro, you're dreaming. It's like 5-10.
But now I'm going to meet someone who quite possibly helped pick and pack my order.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
How's your shift?
Oh, long.
Yeah?
Yeah, long.
It's a stifling day, typical for this time of year. Anna tells me it's just as hot inside her store as it is out here.
So how hot did it get in there?
It got to 34, 35 degrees.
It was 34 degrees in there.
Yeah, 34.
Nah.
Wow, that must be uncomfortable.
That's like tools down kind of weather. Like in a warehouse, 34, 35 degrees. That's hot, man. That is hot.
Yeah, it was. It was very uncomfortable. It makes your job harder to do.
Where Anna works isn't any ordinary Coles supermarket. It's what's known as a dark store.
Ooh, dark stores.
While it looks like a supermarket with aisles, a deli and bakery, there are no customers. Inside, dozens of staff fill orders for delivery or click and collect.
Have you guys ever wondered where the Coles trucks or the Woolworths trucks come from? They've got dark supermarkets set up where it's just a warehouse filled with all the common groceries. Pickers in there like Anna from here, filling up bags, and then they load it all into the trucks from there. The trucks aren't pulling up to the local stores and filling up from there. The local stores where you go in shopping and walking around, that's stocked for consumers walking in. Whereas all the delivery stuff, unless it's being done by a Doordash or Uber Eats shopper or something like that, most of it for the online stuff is coming through these dark supermarkets. There are some being serviced from the stores, but as soon as a dark supermarket or a dark shopping centre like this pops up, all the orders start to flood through that. And then, it's a different game, guys. More and more people are getting deliveries done for their groceries. And I don't know. I could see a future where you don't even step into a Coles or a Woolworths at some point. Imagine that. I wonder how far off we are from there. But let's see what Anna's job's like when she's just picking stuff.
These photos show just how hot it can get. Coles wouldn't expect its customers to endure temperatures of 34 degrees
That's
while they
bullshit.
shop.
That's too hot.
But for staff, this is just part of the job. I catch up with Anna again at home.
Every summer, there's people who feel dizzy. Every summer, there's people whose sweat's just dripping off them and they want to sit down. But you get a 15-minute break and a 5-hour shift, so I think it's not really enough for... One 15-minute break doesn't really allow you time to recover.
15-minute break, 5-hour shift. So that means people aren't getting offered full-time jobs there. They're not getting 8-hour shifts, so they have to give the 30-minute break and 2 15-minute breaks. So they're specifically putting people in employment for only short 5-hour shifts.
And then go back to work and still keep up the same pace.
The pace Anna's talking about is quick. Workers gathering items for online orders are timed and there are targets set.
There is an industry standard of a pick rate of about 180 items per hour.
180 per hour. So anyone who does DoorDash or Uber Eats and does shop and deliver orders, 180 items per hour. Now, granted, it's probably much more easier to navigate around than the store aisles, but 180 items shopped per hour. Do you reckon you could shop that fast? I know I can't shop that fast, so she would be working like a machine in there, just packing stuff, man. I could probably get through... I'm not a fast shopper on DoorDash. I'm not a fast shopper on Uber Eats. I can maybe get through one item a minute. Maybe I could get that down to 50 seconds. I know others can do it way faster than me. But yeah, one a minute maybe. So maybe for me, 60 items an hour. As opposed to her smashing out triple my speed, literally triple my speed, 180 items an hour. Man, that's nuts.
Our warehouse, particularly during busy periods, will push you to go above and beyond that, which might be 210, 220. In the past,
huge.
They have displayed the names of pickers.
Get a job at DoorDash. You'll fly through it.
The ones who are falling behind the official pick rate will be displayed in red.
How does it make you feel being effectively publicly shamed for not working hard enough?
It's not fair to people with different abilities, different capabilities, different reasons for what speed they can maintain.
But do they don't get paid bonuses for doing it faster? What's the incentive to do 210 items per hour versus 180? All she's saying is that they get shamed if they are the slowest and their name appears in red. That's toxic work culture, guys. That is toxic work culture, saying, oh, these people are the shittest. Here's their name on the billboard. Hey, everyone, look how shit they are. They crap at their job. Look at them. And then forcing you to do more and more. to try and get out of the red, essentially. Even though 180 items an hour, guys, that's fast. That's a lot. That's every 20 seconds. You're finding an item, you're putting it across and packing it into a bag, and the items can be spread out all over the place. So they're absolutely flying through that. And yeah, like they're like, oh, well, you do 200 an hour, do 210 an hour, then your name won't be up there. Then you do an extra, 30 items an hour, 20 items an hour for no extra pay. Just doing more and more deliveries to make the company more money by paying for less labor because you're working your ring off more. For a 5-hour shift, not even full-time hours, not even guaranteed a job there. Just she's either on part-time or casual. Part-time, at least she's got some stability, but if she's on casual, getting 5 hours, and they're not taking on full-time or part-time there, man, that's just crap.
We prioritise team member safety as something that is absolutely crucial.
Oh yeah, 34, 35 degrees.
And so ensuring that there is an environment,
safe, yeah.
including temperature, that is safe for our team member would be something that we would definitely want to have a look at and understand why that has happened.
Is it acceptable that your team members have to work in 35-degree heat?
And what I've said is I will take away that issue and we will have a look at it because it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right at all. And she can't even answer the question. She should just say, no, it's not acceptable and I'm going to find out what's happening there and I'm going to look into it. But she's just gaslighting, saying, no, it doesn't sound right to me. No. And man, what a piece of work this CEO is. And she's making millions, guys, millions and millions and millions for you to have to pay more at the supermarkets. She's costing you money with this kind of attitude. It's absolute rubbish.
After the interview with Four Corners, Coles said it had put measures in place to help employees on hot days, including providing them with chilled neckties.
Are you serious? 34, 35 degrees in a warehouse, and they're like, oh yeah, here's some cool down neckties. This will be fine, guys. Just keep working at that pace. Let's try to get up to 210 items picked and packed per hour. But yeah, I know it's hot, guys. Here's your little cool necktie. Keep at it. No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm here for support. Oh, yeah. That's great.
Anna is part of the first national strike by supermarket workers in Australian history.
Good, so they should be. They're employees, they should be striking.
They walked off the job several times last year, asking for better wages and conditions.
When do we want it? Now!
So if you're an employee and you're getting paid and working in them conditions, absolutely strike. I've talked about striking and stuff like that as a contractor. Doesn't work, doesn't make sense to do it. But if you're an employee from a multi-billion-dollar company who is not contracting out their work, but you're an employee for them and you're getting rubbish conditions like that, yeah, strike. Go for it. Why not?
Coles is not just putting pressure on staff and suppliers. There's a whole other area where the supermarket giant is taking advantage of its market power. It's using this power to push its own products without being upfront with consumers.
Oh, here we go.
You may not realise it, but Coles is a big player in wine.
There we are. Guys, like you'll be surprised by this. When you go into like a liquor land, or like one of the Coles alcohol shops, when you go into that, there is so much stuff that is from Coles, but you would never have an idea until you flick to the back of the bottle, and then you can see like this one little head office address in Hawthorn, and you're like, oh, okay, that's weird. Like half the alcohol in this store comes from Hawthorn. I didn't know there was breweries in Hawthorn doing half the alcohol for this store. It seems strange, but yeah, I reckon this guy's going to run through it here. Yeah, let's. This might surprise some of you.
I've come to the Coles-owned vintage cellars to pick up a bottle of red.
Yeah, he's doing it.
There's no shortage of choice.
Good stuff.
But like many consumers, I go for a mid-price wine at eye level.
Just that one, thank you.
I go for a Sakagoon, bro, if I'm getting wine. or get the silver pillow, man. Like once you drink it all, you blow it up, and then you got a pillow to sleep on. The goon sack. Man, yeah, Australia's best invention.
So I decided on this one, the Two Churches Preacher Shiraz. I really like the label, but what really got me was the story on the back.
It tells a tale of German immigrants coming to South Australia, of two Lutheran priests who fell out and built rival churches at opposite ends of the same village.
Pretty good story. I like the
Online,
law.
it's promoted as a tale from the Barossa Valley, where the priests disagreed on almost everything except the quality of grapes grown in the now famous wine region. So I'm here in the Barossa to find out where these grapes are grown.
There it is.
Has anyone been to the Barossa Valley before? I haven't before. I heard that it's just like hectares of vineyards everywhere. So yeah, let's see how much of this wine comes from the Barossa Valley.
So this is it, the Lightpass Emmanuel Church, just like on the bottle here. And over there, that's the rival church. It's just such a great story.
Standing in history. Good stuff.
Is this the home of two churches?
I couldn't tell you that from this bottle.
Adrian Hoffman is a fifth-generation grape grower from the Barossa.
Fifth generation grape grower, mate. Eighth generation drinker of the grapes.
And says there's no Two Churches vineyard around here.
I think they're sort of misleading the consumer to a certain degree. It sounds like a Barossa story, but yeah, you can't be guaranteed it's Barossa fruit, unfortunately.
So where is the home of Two Churches wine? What about the address on the back? What does that tell me?
Well, that's the first thing I'd sort of go to. You look at where it's produced, and this says it's Hawthorn East, Victoria.
Yeah, Coles, right there. But even still, they're saying Barossa, this Barossa Valley, but you know it's not guaranteed that the fruit is even from Barossa Valley. What's happening there? Where is it from? Is it from China? Is it picked overseas? Where is the wine made? Where is the wine made? And they just slap Barossa Valley over the front of it. Can you do that? I don't think that sounds right.
So here I am in suburban Melbourne. Turns out this is the closest there is to a home for the Two Churches Shiraz. Not that it says Coles anywhere on the bottle.
Looks
Coles
like
says
Barossa
it has
Valley.
around 260 private label wines available through its liquor stores.
I mean, the test under law is, would a reasonable consumer be misled? Now, if on the label of the bottle,
yes,
you're telling a story
yes,
that's unrelated to the product,
yes,
then I think that runs a serious risk of being misleading.
I agree. If I bought a bottle of wine that said Barossa Valley, you know, from the Barossa Valley, and it's got a story about the Barossa Valley on it, I would assume that the wine is from the Barossa Valley, but clearly it's not.
Why not put your name on it? Why not say it's Coles Shardy or Supermarket Shiraz?
Yeah.
Why are you hiding
Yeah.
the fact that you own
Get
this
her.
brand?
Get her, mate.
So in terms of communicating with customers, there are practices across many retailers and many industries where
Take that
brands...
point. Shouldn't you be honest with the consumer and say,
She was literally going down the path of, well, you know, other people mislead, so it's fine that we do as an industry practice. No, that's not good enough.
this is a Coles wine?
But why do it? We're very comfortable that the branding approach that we have in our liquor brands is one that resonates with customers.
It doesn't resonate with customers. We don't know where it's from. You've misled us where the wine's from. We need to know where the wine's from.
After our interview, Coles removed any reference to the Barossa from its online promotion of Two Churches.
Ooh. She would have sent that email out fast saying, hey, the Two Churches wine, get it off the Four Corners ABC. They're onto us. Remove it from the websites as fast as you can.
From prime shelf space to prime real estate, there's a more fundamental issue stifling competition in this country: access to land. An industry insider has told Four Corners about a tactic used to keep competitors out. It involves buying up so-called spoiler sites right across the country. A prime example is on Sydney's Upper North Shore. Woolworths has spent almost a decade trying to redevelop this council car park into a shopping centre and supermarket.
Why does it take them a decade to do that? What are they doing? It doesn't take a decade to redevelop something. They got so much money to throw at development, they can do this fast.
In exchange for access to the land, Woolworths is offering to build a new library and community hall.
Sounds like a bribe. It's like, yeah, you give us this land and we'll build some stuff for the community, but we want that land. Let's see which politicians would cave to that. Because there's got to be a politician. It's like, you know what? I can do that as a political promise. I will get this passed through for development for you guys, and then I can claim that I, Mr. Politician, is bringing across a new library. I'm bringing across a new library, and that's my political promise. Meanwhile, they're just doing dirty real estate deals with corporations. So typically Australian. Man, like our politicians are so corrupt over here. Anyone watching from overseas, our politicians are so corrupt.
It's already purchased 3 shops. If Woolworths gets the green light, they'll be part of the new shopping complex.
Well, they just need a politician then
to approve it. But they also have the added benefit of keeping rivals out.
Oh, look, it's a huge problem, but you can understand why it's happened. Coles and Woolworths want to maintain as concentrated a market as possible. There's no doubt it's aimed at reducing competition, so therefore you can say it's anti-competitive in that sense. Proving that is tricky.
Do you reckon that they're buying out these smaller sites, so an IGA or a Foodworks or something like that can't move into them smaller sites and then open up? Do you think that's happening? Leave down below in the comments if you think that could be something they're doing. I wouldn't put it past them. Being like, oh, that's a perfect site for an IGA, that's a perfect site for a Foodworks. Let's just buy it and sit on it so they can't get it and they can't compete against us. And that way there's only just the Coles here in the area, the Woolworths in the area, and we stifle out and we cut off all the smaller independent grocers. I wouldn't be surprised, guys.
Does Woolworths use land acquisition or land banking as a way to reduce competition?
So that's not something that we actively do. We do, in some cases, buy land. This is one of the...
That's not, in some cases, things that we actively do. That's not saying that we don't do it. That's not saying that we don't do it. It says we just don't actively do it. But, you know, we do it. We just don't actively do it. He's not saying we don't do it. And that's the key thing. That's a key thing. Like, mind you, this guy got, he resigned today. And when the CEO resigns out of the blue, it means the board has forced him to resign, effectively fired.
The pieces of land we've bought and developed. But it's not a way of trying to drive competition. It'll be through, we need a store in a new area, and so you'll buy some land and wait for the community to start moving into the area.
German supermarket giant Kaufland would likely disagree. It halted plans to open supermarkets here in 2020. A lack of suitable locations was cited as one of the reasons.
Well, you know, like if you're a supermarket giant coming across in 2020, I've never heard of Kaufland before. Never heard of them before. So it must be their first time coming into the Australian market. And you're like, well, all the best spots are already taken by the guys that have been here for the last 100 years. How are we supposed to do this? I think, yeah, they need to elaborate a bit more on that. That doesn't sound quite right.
The government is making all the right noises about tackling the power of Coles and Woolworths.
They're making noises. Are they actually doing anything though?
Our government is prepared to take action to make sure that Australians are not paying $1 more than they should for the things that they need.
Prepared to take action, not we are taking action. But we'll do like an idle thread up in the air. Oh, I'll do a little statement out. Yeah, good on your elbow. Do something, mate.
All of these processes are about one thing, and that's about seeing if we can exert more competition.
But all these processes are about processes, not things actually happening. Oh man, Jim Chalmers. Come on, man.
To actually bring down prices, it will need to implement reform that previous governments have ignored.
Of course they've ignored it. Of course they've ignored it. These are multi-billion-dollar corporations in Australia. Multi-billion corporations. They're tied in with the government. If anything, it sounds like the government is like, oh, we don't want to poke the bear here. We don't want to stir them up. Don't want to stir up big business in this country.
Former competition boss Rod Sims says the ACCC needs greater powers to block mergers, making it harder for the big two to gobble up rivals, buy land and move into other industries.
I think there's no doubt if you want lower supermarket prices, if you want consumers to pay less for goods in supermarkets, change the merger laws.
The Greens, who are chairing the upcoming Senate inquiry, are exploring more radical change, including breaking up Coles and Woolworths.
Ooh,
the acid test on the Prime Minister is not going to be what reviews or what processes he's prepared to put in place. It'll be what action he is prepared to take.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no action. There's just reviews. But even still, he's not proposing action to be taken either. So just politicians being politicians. Always talking, never doing anything.
Whatever happens, it's already too late for cherry grower Michael Cooniel.
Losing his farm, man. That's rough. That is rough, bro.
So what do you do? Do you literally put the bulldozer through here?
We just get our bulldozer and start pushing. Yeah, just push them up into piles. I don't mind people making money. Everyone's got to make a little bit of money on the way through, but they're just making so much. It's getting to the point, you know, the industry can't absorb their greed.
Yep.
I don't know what the answer is.
It's
I'd
too
like
much.
to know it.
They're taking too much.
Because we would keep reinvesting in our orchards. But I can't see a huge silver lining, so we're out. We're just getting out. Yep.
Here's a solution. Okay, guys, so I'll just have a little rant about this. I'm working 3 jobs right now. 3 jobs to deal with inflation currently. It's ridiculous. And things like groceries going up in price. It's like, okay, I understand, you know, suppliers, they need to make more money. You know, people working there, they need to make more money because of inflation. But when the supermarkets jack up the prices even further, well, we saw that all through here. We saw price gouging, we saw price manipulation, we saw price fixing. We saw, for products setting their manufacturing retail prices up through the roof just so they can get stickers on to sell it at a reasonable price to get people to buy their product. We saw that's manipulation from these supermarkets being like, okay, yeah, well, if you want to get a yellow ticket, you're going to have to do like 50% off. And they're like, well, to do that, we need to set double the cost. And they're like, yep, cool, that's fine with us, just do it. So all these little things are just pushing prices up further and further and further. Meanwhile, these supermarket giants are still making over $1 billion a year in profit. And guys, that's profit. That's after they've paid everything, paid all their marketing, paid all their IT stuff, paid all their leases, all their loans, all their interest, everything involved. And then they've got $1 billion in profit. So here's what I think should be happening here. I think these supermarket giants should not be taking in $1 billion worth of profit each a year. I don't think they should be. I think that they should be breaking even, if not a bit more, especially in a cost of living crisis. But making $1 billion in profit after all their expenses, after paying their CEO, ex-former CEO now, paying Brad $11,788,000 last year. That's what he took home. Let alone Leah's CEO salary in the millions as well. Millions of dollars in CEO salaries and bonuses because, of course, their job is to make money for the company, and they've damn well done that, making over $1 billion in profit in a cost of living crisis where everyone's cutting back on their food, everyone's just really scrimping just to pay for their food to keep themselves fed, so that their order sizes are down because the cost of everything's gone up so much, and these companies are still profiting more and more money out of it. So yeah, I don't think they should be making a profit. I don't think they should, or not that much of a profit. Like, just to put it in perspective, these grocery stores are making over $1 billion per year. Most businesses only make a couple $1 million in profit a year after paying for all their expenses. These are making over $1 billion. $10 million a year in profit, $20 million, $30 million, $100 million a year in profit for the shareholders, for the future of the company. $100 million a year in profit. That's really good. $1 billion, over $1 billion, that's a lot. That's a lot for a country that only has, what are we up to, 27 million people right now? 27 million people living here. That's just a bit more than half the state of California. And they are bleeding us dry. They're shutting the supply, well, not shutting them down directly themselves, but by strangling them out so they can't make money anymore. The food industry in Australia threatened. Our farming and agriculture is now threatened because these guys trying to strangle every last cent for profit. It's not right. Something's got to change. What are your thoughts, guys? Leave it down below in the comments. How much are you paying for groceries? Are you struggling to pay for them these days? Have you noticed it's significantly gone up more and more, and you don't think it's right how much it's going up? Do you think it's fair these CEOs are paying themselves millions and millions and millions of dollars in bonuses when there is a cost of living crisis on Australians, and they're getting paid these bonuses for strangling the Australian consumer even more and more to keep their profits as high as possible? Do you think that's wrong? Do you think there's something fundamentally flawed with that? What are your thoughts, guys? Leave it down below in the comments. Just mind you, Brad got forced resigned. He got forced resigned, so he's out of there now, and now he's in damage control. The press is all picking him up and stuff like that. But this was the interview. This thing from Four Corners, this is what triggered it all. And as soon as this one came out, he was in damage control, and then his boards forced him to resign, and he's out. And you know what? He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give two shits, guys. He's been making millions of dollars per year for the last, 13 years or something like that at Woolworths. Millions of dollars a year. He's retiring a multi-millionaire. He's rich. He's filthy rich. He doesn't care. For him, he's like, oh yeah, give it a month, it'll blow over. I've made my money. I've made my squillions here. But guys, yeah, what are your thoughts? Are these CEOs paid too much? Is there a problem? How can we fix this? What do you think? Leave it down below in the comments, and take it easy, guys. A little bit heated on this video, but that's all for today.